Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the 62nd episode of the Wright Experience. I'm absolutely excited to bring you another amazing episode where we talk to leaders and get to know more about how to lead in the 21st century. Tonight, I have an amazing leader who has served as a superintendent in North Carolina public school districts for many years, and I'm excited to finally get the opportunity to talk to her on this show. My guest is Dr. Anitra D. Wells. Dr. Wells is a proud native of Norfolk, Virginia. Upon graduating from Booker T. Washington High School, she matriculated to Norfolk State University and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in business education. She began her teaching career in Norfolk as a business teacher and remained in the classroom for 9 years. Upon earning her Master of Science in Education from Old Dominion University, she served as an assistant principal and human resources officer in Norfolk Public Schools. 2004, she received her doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. 2006, Dr. Wells was recruited to Guilford County Schools in North Carolina, where she served as a principal of Northeast Guilford High School. During her tenure at Northeast, the school improved its academic performance, parent involvement, and teacher retention rate. The school was also awarded the Hubert Humphrey Award for 2 consecutive years as the most improved high school in the district. Dr. Wells was also recognized as Principal of the Year, a Principal of the Year finalist during her last year as principal. Dr. Wells was then promoted to the Executive Director of the Central Region in December of 2020 in Guilford County, and served in that capacity for 2 years before transferring to the Northern Region. As an executive director, she served and supported 42 schools in the Central Region and 34 schools in the Northern Region. Highlights for some of those schools she served included 92% of the schools made at least expected growth, up from 87% prior to her assuming that role. 5 of the schools were recognized as honor schools of excellence. 1 school was recognized as School of Excellence, and 11 schools were recognized as schools of distinction during that time. Reduction in schools designated as priority schools went from 6 to 4, and then no school designated as a low-performing school. She didn't have any in her tenure there, which is amazing. Improved graduation rates in all high schools, 2 schools recognized as Blue Ribbon schools, and the early college at Guilford High School was recognized as a top school in North Carolina 2014-2015 under her leadership. Dr. Wells was selected in 2015 as the superintendent of Weldon City Schools. During her tenure in Weldon, she worked to develop and implement career academies. I remember those days at the Weldon STEM High School Center. Career academies. She developed a global academy at Weldon Elementary School. She also implemented a grant funding personalized learning initiative and removed the district from the state low performing list in 1 year. She improved 50% of the schools identified from the state as F schools, moved that down to 0%. She also served as the president of the Roanoke River Valley Education Consortium and a member of the Roanoke Rapids Rotary Club and Halifax Community College Foundation Board of Directors. Dr. Wells currently serves as the superintendent of Lexington City Schools in Lexington, North Carolina. In her tenure at Lexington, she has implemented the district's RISE initiative, which stands for Rigorous, Innovative Schools for Everyone, where the focus has been on providing equitable opportunities for all students. Programs being implemented in Lexington include Spanish Immersion, Leader in Me, AP Capstone, Personalized Learning Initiative, and Cybersecurity. The district is also working on a multi-million-dollar energy saving project. Dr. Wells is married to John Wells, who I recently met. He is a teacher in Lexington. They have a blended family of 1 son and 4 daughters, as well as 4 daughters and 2 grandsons. She is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and currently serves on the Lexington Area Chamber of Commerce, the Davidson County Workforce Development Board, and the United Way Board of Directors. And at this time, I'd like to welcome the person that we affectionately call Madam President, Dr. Anitra Wells. How are you today?
I'm well, sir. I hope you are.
You didn't think I wasn't going to put that in there, did you?
No, I was hoping you wouldn't, but I knew it was coming.
So anyway, Dr. Wells, it is absolutely my pleasure to have you on the show, and we've learned a lot about the amazing things that are going on already in the Lexington City School District. But take this opportunity to talk to us a little bit more about some of the wonderful things that you have going on there, because I know the list that we read just kind of scratches the surface with your amazing leadership and the things that you bring to the table.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wright. I will share a little bit about Lexington. In Lexington City Schools, we have 6 schools and a developmental center.
Okay.
All of those schools now have what we call school themes, just so that we can have a focus on what kind of instructional practices we're going to be utilizing in those facilities. Across the district, we have implemented opportunity culture, advanced teaching roles. We kind of say ours is on steroids because we added an additional layer outside of the regular structure of opportunity culture. And that was simply to ensure that as kids were coming back from the pandemic, that we have our best teachers providing supports to our lowest performing kids and those kids who had the largest gaps in learning. And so we have one of those in each of our schools. They model instruction in our schools. They pull small group kids for instruction. They are there to analyze data, to just kind of help teachers through the PLC process and what kind of instructional strategies are going to take place in schools. And so we think that implementing that in our district is going to give us some huge gains. We've also embarked on a digital learning initiative across our district. So we are what people called in the past a one-to-one district, where each kid in our district has an Apple device. Every teacher in our district has an iPad, a MacBook, an Apple TV, and we are really trying to utilize those devices to engage kids more in instruction. We know that these kids have these kinds of devices in their hands every single day at home. And so we wanted to give them something that they are comfortable with, that we could use as an instructional strategy. And we tell teachers it's not just for kids to play games and to have fun. It is a true instructional tool that we use. We don't expect that kids will be on them all day, every day. Nonetheless, we are expecting them to be used for things outside of electronic worksheets. And so teachers have really learned how to use these devices to really engage instruction. We've got augmented reality going on in classrooms every day, virtual reality going on in classrooms every day. And so our teachers have really learned how, with the support of Apple and Apple coaching, they've really learned how to use these devices. One of the big pushes for us has been how we increase the number of high school kids who have the opportunity to earn college credits while they're still in high school. And so we have increased our number of courses that our kids are taking at the community college in the last year, from about 109 to over 400 courses that our kids are taking from our high school. And we realized that we had an issue because kids couldn't get to the community college. So what we've done is we've set aside a bus driver, and that's what that person does all day long, transports kids, because we want to make sure that we're providing equitable opportunities for all of our students. We've increased our graduation rate in the district, and all of our efforts in Lexington are just about making sure that kids have a leveled playing field, because we know that kids in poverty often do not. But we want to make sure that the kids in Lexington have that.
And Lexington is in Davidson County, so it's kind of similar to where you were in that 3 districts in one county. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to touch back on just a little bit, if I might, now you talked about doing something different with opportunity culture. And, that's kind of the buzz now. We got out in front of it. Your district, my district, kind of got out in front of
Sure.
implementing advanced teacher roles. Now, all of a sudden, is the greatest thing in the world, it seems. So anyway, so your multi-classroom leaders, are they still in the classroom? You got them completely pulled out, or a little bit of each, or what?
Okay, so our steroid portion of opportunity culture is the master teacher leader level.
Sure. Okay.
Those folks are not assigned to kids, so they are not teachers of record. They do not have classrooms assigned to them. They are true instructional leaders in their areas.
Okay.
All multi-classroom leaders are partial release. So they teach a portion of the day. The other days, they are supporting other teachers within their respective departments or grade levels.
I got you. So you added a layer on top of the multi-classroom.
That is correct. That is correct. And so it's been a little bit difficult for us this year, especially at the high school, because we've had some vacancies in high school. And so our master teacher leaders have had to push in and be classroom teachers for 1 or 2 periods of the day.
Well, we're in unique times right now. I mean, just trying to navigate, the personnel shortages and folks changing careers, and we get it right now until we
absolutely.
I still say until we address this salary gap that we have going on right now, we're going to continue to have challenges in those areas.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
Dr. Wells, let's go ahead while we're on teacher shortages and things of that nature. What are some things that you can think of that we need to do to be able to recruit and retain the best folks we can for our students?
Well, we've got to get back to the thought that teaching is a true profession.
Sure.
It's not just a job.
Sure.
People put everything that they have into teaching. And so I think we need to respect them enough to pay them.
Amen.
Everybody always says we wouldn't have doctors if we didn't have teachers. We wouldn't have astronauts if we didn't have teachers. We wouldn't have all these other people in their positions if we didn't have teachers. So we've got to get back to treating teaching as a true profession. And we've got to pay teachers what they're worth. That's going to be hard to do. One, because I think you can't put a number on the worth of a teacher. But they've got to be paid the way we are paying some of these other positions and other professions.
I put a what has become a very controversial Twitter post out, but I was trying to make a point, and it certainly has done that.
Okay.
A cashier at Buc-ee's, which is a big convenience mart in South Carolina, Florence, South Carolina. If they work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks to the year, they'll make about $2,000 more than an entry-level teacher in North Carolina. How about that? So something got to be done about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I even went a little further. You may remember this. I started teaching in 1998. It's been a while. My salary was $24,000.
I remember mine in 1986 being $19,160.
So you just think about that. If it's 35 now, that certainly hadn't kept up with the with the times for sure. So we need some help there.
Sure.
Anyway, let's talk about. We'll get away from that before I get us in trouble. But anyway. So what about some of your proudest moments thus far? You had an amazing career thus far. What are some of your proudest moments as a leader thus far?
I take pride in providing opportunities for our underserved populations. Some of my proudest moments have been when we, and I say we because I don't do any work alone, when we have been able to turn low-performing schools into schools where kids are maximizing proficiency or maximizing their learning opportunities. Right. And we've had some, across this state, we've had a significant number of low performing schools. But when you can get your hands in there and get your feet wet, to provide opportunities and strategies and action steps that move schools and kids in that right direction,
Right.
That's what I'm in this for. That's what
Good.
I'm in this for.
Good. So while we're talking about curriculum, and you certainly are a person that I look to for curricular ideas, to say the least, because Dr. Wells will challenge you. What do you think we need to do in terms of designing proper curriculum moving forward? What are kind of some look fors? Because I would assume that curricular leadership, I try to stay away from instructional leadership, because instructional leadership, in my opinion, embodies all of the stuff we do. So
Sure.
I like to use the term curricular leadership to keep people focused on the fact that
Mhm.
we are just talking about teaching and learning. But anyway, what does that need to look like moving forward, in your opinion? What do we need to be looking for?
So I'm going to kind of paraphrase some words of Dr. Dudley Flood. And
We heard an
Dr.
amazing
McNeil.
presentation from him yesterday.
Absolutely. We've got to get away from teaching what's not necessary to kids. Right. I think what we have to do is to first start out by saying, what is it that we want to see in kids as they leave our doors? What skill sets are they going to need to get jobs or move on to higher ed,
Right.
whatever their choices might be, and move away from things that don't matter. And so I appreciate us as educators and states that design standards for kids. I can appreciate wanting to make sure that children are well-rounded. Sure. And that they are intellectuals. But there are some things that are obsolete to kids.
That's right.
That they just don't need to know. And so I wish we would get back to really just kind of designing curriculum for what kids need and must know to be successful when they leave our doors.
Yeah, and I tell you where that's a tremendous point. I tell you where I think still the biggest change, unnecessary change, was the way we're teaching math now. It is amazing to me to watch kids and how they're solving problems, and very often I find myself, why don't we just break out the tables and teach them what 7 times 7 is? And it's just amazing to me to see that.
Yeah, but believe it or not, when you think back to when we were in school,
sure,
and I'm a little older than you are,
okay,
but we didn't have all this fancy stuff. We didn't need all that fancy stuff, but that didn't hinder us from becoming intellectuals.
That's right.
And from being able to have the skill sets to move on to either work or higher ed.
That's right. That's right. And I just it's amazing to me. I was in a classroom maybe about a month ago or something like that, and I'm watching kids solving just basic problems. Like, what are you doing? Like I had to answer 10 seconds anyway. So I'm just a little bit concerned about that. Right. Sure. With your point. I mean, we gotta get back to what's important for kids. I absolutely agree. So let's talk about this for a minute. In your profession, and you've done it well at a high level for many years. So if there is a young, up and coming, or younger, let me be clear about a younger, because you're still young, but a younger Anitra Wells coming up, having aspirations to be a superintendent at some point, what advice would you give her?
What I would tell her, or what I would tell my younger self, is understand first and foremost that not everyone is going to have the exact same sense of urgency that you do.
Yeah.
Because when you expect that folks will have the exact same sense of urgency that you do, you're going to run into a lot of situations that are going to make you pull your hair out. Because not everybody goes into this for the same reasons. And the sense of urgency there is very different for different people. And so I would say be flexible, understand that everybody is not you. Everybody does not have the exact same expectations that you do. However, it does not mean that you have to lower your expectations. True. It just means that you have to understand that you may have to bring some other people along and to teach them how to get to where you are without frustrating them and yourself.
You must be related to Mary Wright. She says to me oftentimes, William, everybody ain't you now. You can't.
Yeah.
But that's good stuff. And I think that we need to continue, and I've been kind of on this bandwagon lately as well. We're going to have to continue to recruit and try to find folks that are willing to do this work, because just as there's a shortage in teaching, in teacher assistants, bus drivers. I think we heard yesterday there's 700 superintendents is vacant right now. So
in the country, absolutely.
So in the United States, and so we certainly have to continue to make sure that we are encouraging people and trying to find good candidates, no matter where they're from, background, or whatever, to get into this profession. Because we need educators. We need them at all levels and so forth. So, Dr. Wells, I guess that we are about to be post-COVID-19, although I'm not so sure about that, but looks like we might be. So what are some of the things that you learned during our time in the pandemic that you think will be beneficial moving forward?
Absolutely. So I think that we realize that our kids and our staff have a level of resilience that we didn't know they had.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that it allows us for implementing different types of instructional strategies now that folks didn't utilize before.
Right.
However, I do think that it requires now a different level of emphasis on mental health and social emotional learning, because COVID did a number on some of our people, not just kids, some of our adults as well. And so they missed out on some of the social pieces of life that keep them ticking. And so we're going to have to pay very close attention now to ensure that folks feel like they are in a safe place and that they are very well supported.
And so much so now, we have to take care of both ends of the spectrum. We focus and always have focused on children, but you're right. Some of our staff members are suffering for various reasons, and now we're going into this inflation situation and all of that. So it's just tough times right now. And we've got to make sure that we're sensitive and understand the needs of the folks that serve children every day.
Absolutely.
And I use the term direct instruction, which are the teachers and teacher assistants, and then indirect instruction employees, because I want to make sure that people who are supporting the work that's going on in their classroom understand that they are instructors too.
That's
they
right.
just do it in a different way. So
that's right.
We got to make sure that we take care of our people. Absolutely. So Dr. Wells, kind of as a shift, if you will, a little bit, the African-American female superintendency is certainly a different one. Just the work that you have to do and some of the challenges. So talk to us a little bit about what you believe the challenges are and how you have navigated those challenges during your time.
So some of that goes back to my statement about sense of urgency and not everybody sharing that. Sometimes, most times, African-American women who go into education and into administration are a slightly different breed. And, just to be honest. And not saying that everybody doesn't go into it for this, but I think African-American women bring a different sense of a different sense of the world, a different sense of an emotional attachment or motivation to see kids do well, especially kids of color, because a lot of times kids of color are the ones who are not receiving the types of supports and services that they need. And so some other challenges have been that we just sometimes don't fit into the mold. So we have to create our own mold. We don't fit into the old networks, good old boy networks that have been established. Sure. And so we have to often break down walls and break down barriers in order to be seen seriously, and for folks to understand our sense of urgency.
Sure. Very good. And certainly that probably is even exponentially the case with African American females, because you all are the lowest, the smallest represented group generally in states and across the United States in terms of leadership at the superintendent level. We've got some amazing leaders in the state of North Carolina and South Carolina, for that matter, who are doing some amazing work. And so our pledge, as we talked about yesterday, is to continue to support that work that you all are doing, just because it is amazing leadership and deserves to be supported. And so thank you for answering that call those years ago and still staying in the game. I mean, I'm going into year 10. You're how many as a superintendent?
I am getting ready to go into year 8 as a superintendent.
Okay. All right. So
and year 37 in education.
Whoo! I'm not sure that William Wright and 37 will go together, but we'll see. We'll see. Dr. Wells, is there anything else in particular that you would like for us to share with the audience at this point that we've not covered?
No, not really. But I thank you, Dr. Wright, for all of your work in education, especially here in North Carolina. It's truly been a pleasure for us to host you here in North Carolina. We will miss you as you take your talents and your expertise to South Carolina. But we definitely hope to keep in touch with you and to, in some instances, work with you in the future.
Absolutely. From my standpoint, this certainly is not the end of our working together. We're going to continue to move forward and do what we do. We'll be in touch. Cell phone numbers not going to change or anything of that nature. So, this work takes us sometimes to places that we don't necessarily expect, but we're looking forward to the new challenge, new opportunities, and trying to help a larger amount of children. So thank you for saying that.
Sure.
If you'll hold on with us for a minute, Dr. Wells will come back and close the show.
Okay.
Wright Experience audience, I'd like to first of all thank you for your unwavering support of this show. Everywhere I go now, I'm getting more and more positive comments about the work that we're doing. Even if I wanted to fold in the towel, I certainly would not do that at this point, because it's been amazingly helpful from what I'm understanding to many folks. We've got some amazing guests that I'm going to have lined up as I get ready to embark upon a new journey as an educational leader. I'm absolutely excited about the opportunity to start in Sumter, South Carolina. We've got an amazing school district down there, and I'm looking forward to taking the absolutely wonderful foundation that's been built there and making us a world-class district. Just keep your eye on us and watch how we progress and do what's right for children, staff, and the community at large. Like I said, we're a good school district already, and we're looking to make it a great school district. And so as we make that transition, our pledge to you is that we'll continue to provide episodes of the Wright Experience. And we're lining up interviewees right now for the month of July and August and so forth and so on. Also, I would absolutely love, if you know people that you think are up and coming leaders in the field of education or other fields, please don't hesitate to contact me, to reach out to me via Facebook, the YouTube page, or what have you, and just let us know who you like and who you think is out there that can help motivate and move our cause along. My goal has simply always been to ensure that we present the very best leaders that I know, so that we all can grow and get better. And so, Dr. Wells, my friend, Madam President, thank you so much for your willingness to be a part of the show, and thank you for your amazing leadership. And anytime that you want to come back on the show and talk to us as your amazing career continues to flourish, by all means, just let us know and we'll make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Wright. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And to the Wright Experience audience, thank you.